Okay guys, welcome back. Now in the last part I was going to touch up on object art, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is you want to download this program SonMapEd. Now SonMapEd is basically the object art editor, you know, for in-game art and maybe some screen art as well, but mainly just for the in-game art, like Sonic himself, Eggman, general objects like the Green Hill Zone rock, and platforms and whatnot. So pretty much this is a must. I would recommend getting SonMapEd. I use it all the time. There's also tutorials if you ever want to have a look. Again, I may put a link. I'll put a link to the program. I may put a link to the tutorial guides on the Sonic Retro website. So anyway, I assume by now you've got SonMapEd, so we're just going to double click, open it up. Again, this is just a pre-salt. Anyway, just unload all. So this, if you open it for the first time, this is what's expected for it to look like. It'll just be completely blank. So now I'm just going to go briefly over the different things going on here. So you got file, load data file, and this is literally, it's just loading things. So you've got tile graphics, which is the art graphics. Now this is the compressed art. So if I go here, the compressed art is literally so you got art name here, so Nemesis compressed art, because the art has to be compressed from Nemesis format before it can be used, unless it's just defaultly art, uncompressed art. Art name U is the uncompressed art, so you've got the uncompressed art which gets compressed into the compressed art. So that's uncompressed and that's compressed. So basically you want it to be in an uncompressed. Unfortunately, there is a program called the Sega Data Compressor, which I can briefly show you right now. However, due to, I don't know, I think maybe due to the program, or maybe something wrong with Windows 7, it doesn't want to work with Windows 7. It worked on my old computer, Windows, I'm going in the wrong place, Windows Vista. However, it refuses, my antivirus thinks it's a virus, and it refuses to start. But yeah, if you can get the Sega Data Compressor, again I may put a link towards it because I can't actually show you, but if you can get the Sega Data Compressor, I would definitely recommend that, because that's a very good program, and it's useful for when SonMapEd doesn't always compress it. Sometimes it will save it as uncompressed. I'm not 100% sure why, but it will. And you can use the Sega Data Compressor to compress uncompressed art. So I'd recommend getting that if you can get it. Again, I don't know, maybe just on my computer, but it won't support it anymore. So I'm not 100% sure about that. If anyone knows about anything specifically by that, let me know. Yeah, so obviously that's got load tiles, uncompressed tile graphics. Nemesis, which is basically just tile graphics. You're not really going to bother with these. Most of the time you're just going to bother with low tile graphics. You've got a primary or full palette, which is basically just the standard palette. Like say I wanted to go into S-Fresh, which is our disassembly, go into palette, and I can say grab Sonic's palette like so, and that will show that. And of course sprite mappings, and the pattern load cues are made just pretty much just for Sonic. Sonic has pattern load cues. Most everything else just have sprite mappings. Again, you go to load sprite mappings, which is actual mappings themselves. You want to go to maps, and here you've got all the maps of the objects, including Sonic and whatnot, which we'll touch up on that. And of course, load just gets rid of everything. Load from ROM is like if you want to say load, I don't know, Sonic free. If you've got a ROM, you can load it, and you've got, say, you got Sonic, you can grab Sonic's mappings and pattern load cues. This is a good way of exporting, say, Sonic 3 sprites from Sonic 3. So you can then re-import them to Sonic 1 or Sonic 2 or whatever. So that's that. Load from image is when you want to import sprites. Import sprite sheet is literally, it's kind of like what it says. It imports like a sprite sheet or a sprite for you. That's also a useful thing we're going to use. Again, save is basically exporting it. Load and save states is literally it's literally what it says. Like a save state in an emulator, it can save a backup for you. So if you muck up, you can load back, revert state, or load backup one, and it's there. So that's really handy. Edit sprite. You've got when you've got the sprites, you can swap the sprite next to it, put it first, put it last, insert a new one, duplicate, delete. You can move pieces, which again I'll get into that. Basically the sprite is the whole thing itself, say Sonic. Pieces could be like parts of his legs or parts of his arms, so that's pieces. You can duplicate them, move them behind other bits, forward, backwards, delete. Transformation is like flipping things in opposite directions and whatnot, moving things certain pixels. But I don't really use transformation. I just use the little keys on the keypad. Tiles again is literally just tile per tile, so it'd be like Sonic's 8x8 toe, if you like, or shoe, and whatnot. So then you can say delete, you can move, whatnot. View. Just zooming in again, I normally just use the key, so you just press the plus like so to zoom in, press the minus to zoom out. Got the scroll, just kind of like scrolling through again, don't use this. Info, just not really important. Game format. Now, depending on what game you have, you've got Sonic 2, Sonic 3 Knuckles. Sonic Crackers never really hacked it, so I can't really say it's syncable anyway. But you see, you got Sonic 1. And this is what we call a palette line. So you've got palette line 0, 1, 2, and 3. So it starts at 0. And this defaultly is just Sonic's palette line, but we still have to load it if we want to edit it properly, of course. Sonic 2, as you see there, you've got yellow and orangey colour. So that's Sonic 2 with Tails. The Tails uses is in the same palette as Sonic's. And Sonic 3 is pretty much similar, but it's like the palette's been organised a little bit, and of course it's frozen different, so there you have it. But anyway, we're hacking Sonic 1, so my hand was in the way of the mic there, so I'm going to be leaving it like that. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to learn, I'm just going to explain to you guys how to, I don't want to load up a ROM, I'm just going to explain to you guys how to do basic editing. We're not really gonna edit anything like we're gonna like properly remove anything or anything. But the first thing I'm gonna do is I would say make a backup. We're gonna edit Sonic because it's the easiest one first. When we come to important stuff, I think I'm just going to do a different object because I want it to be really simple. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to Artunk. You can do this while you're opening it. I'm just doing because I'm lazy. I'm just gonna make a copy. I'm just gonna paste it. And I'm going to do the same for mappings, for Sonic's mapping. So you go into maps. Again, this is a good way because you can like edit the mappings if you know about ASM coding, which is like actual coding itself, which I'm sure I'll get into basic ASM in the future. But let's make it easier on yourself. You might as well just use a program that understands it for you in a format where you can see it. Much easier. Why waste your time learning unless you just really want to? So anyway, I'm copying that, and then the pattern load cues as well. It sort of brings everything together, if you like. So you got Sonic's dynamic pattern load cues. Copy and then paste it as so. So anyway, we're gonna go back to Artunk. This is art compressed. This is just some of the art that is actually loaded as uncompressed art, like Sonic. So let's load Sonic, and as you see, we've got this again, which we had before. So what we're going to do is sprite mappings. Again, go to maps, find Sonic, and as you can see there, okay, you've got Sonic standard sprites, and you've got all this jumble. This is where the pattern load cues comes in. It just kind of brings everything together. So that's where we have to load Sonic dynamic pattern load cues, and there we have it, and it's all fixed. And as you can see, you've got yeah, I think that was my fault, but yeah. Anyway, this would be the up sprite, but I think I mucked something up, so don't worry about that too much. But yeah, other than that, everything should be pretty much. So it's been a little while since quite a good while since I've done this, so I do apologise for those following my tutorials, but I'm hoping to get back into it. But anyway, it's got everything here. I'm gonna like jumbled up crap, but you shouldn't have that. if it's unedited. I must have done something wrong, I can't remember what I did. And so pretty much by pressing the little square brackets on your keyboards, if you just hold the left one, it's next to the P on my keyboard, so I'm sure it'll be the same for you guys. So you hold that one, you can scroll between them all. Hold the right one, scroll between them all, like so. If you want to move a sprite like to the right a little bit, you can just press the arrow key. So I moved Sonic there, moved them back, moved them forward, moved back, up, down, left, right, A, start, all that jazz. And if you want to move him a little bit, hold the shift button and just shimmy him away. It's a good way of knowing when to align, because when you've got other sprites to base things off, the closer you are to them, so say for example I'm going away from the sprite, so I know, you know, Sonic standing is going to be away from the waiting sprite, so it's going to look really awkward when it transitions into the waiting animation. So I want to get in closer. Okay, is that right? Start going right? Yeah. See, it's pushing back in that direction, so I know I've gone too far, so I want to go back. Yeah, I've gone too far again, and there. And again, if you switch back, you can normally tell because yeah, they're exactly the same position. So that's very handy. I don't know about this, but that's yeah, that's very handy. So let's say move around, brackets next to P, shift, just arrows, whatnot. And like I say, that's definitely a useful tip. Like I say, just scroll through and have a look at what you wanted to enter. Again, I could I'm just going to show you off save state, so I'm just going to save state backup 1, and I'm going to, well, if you want to delete a whole sprite, you have to press Control Delete, like so, and there you go. There's no standard animation. Just going to go to load state, and there you have it back to normal. Now if you want to look through pieces and tiles, what you want to press is, you want to press, I think it's the colon and the comma. So I think like the colon is for the bottom and the comma is on, like, so say like the colon's right, I mean the comma's right and the other one's left, next to the L button, key button, and this will go through the pieces which I talked to you about. So I could move Sonic's head that way by selecting it. I could move it that way, do all sorts. There you go. It's pretty much how you move things, you know, like that and whatnot. Okay. Now the other thing I'm doing, I'm just going to show you very easy. I'm just going to load Sonic's palette. Again, it's pretty much, if it's been untouched, it should be exactly the same, like so. So anyway, we've loaded Sonic's palette. So if you want to edit his palette here, we just double click it, and you may recognize this kind of editing colors like in Paint or something. You know, you can just sort of mess around. I think sometimes it will try and keep it to a certain color. So SonMapEd will be like, it has to be this color because it's limited, of course. You can't just have any old color. I mean, you can, but you can't at the same time. So yeah, it's just, you know, obviously that's his hedgehog hair color, and then his just his eyes, got black on the top there, shoe color, you know, his skin color, nose and everything. So yeah, that's pretty much, that is pretty much Sonic. If you want to insert a new sprite, I'll just show that off. Go to sprite, insert new. And there we've got a blank sprite, and we can just click on here, say Sonic's head, and here this is like 16 times 8, I think it is. So it's always by 8 by 8, and then it'll be 16, 16, 32, 32, or 24, 32, or whatever, and so on. So I could do that. So now we've got just a random head. We don't want it, and if it's just a piece, we can just select it, delete it. If we want to get rid of a whole sprite, remember, just press Control and delete. Again, I may put like a little overview sort of thing saying these are the different things. You can read, I think there's like a little documentation for SonMapEd if you want to have a look at it, at the different keys and stuff. Again, they do explain some of them on here as well if you want to look and, you know how to shift things and move things about, so you know, you can just have a look at that. And obviously once you're done, you literally, you know, just go to save tile. In this case it's uncompressed because it's hard tongue. Go to hard tongue, select Sonic, save, do the same for mappings, pattern load cues, Sonic dynamic pattern load cues, and all you do is and then after that you just go to your Sonic Fresh, as we've been doing, which I believe, I'm not sure if I did or don't. I do apologise because I've heard people saying that I didn't show some things, so I'm hoping this will cover it if I didn't. I thought I did, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I'm just, you know, going to say, so go back to disassembly Sonic 1 Fresh, click on Build Bat, let it go through. I don't think I've done any thing on here, or what's it, anything. Yeah, and just press enter, and then obviously you can just go to Fusion, whatnot, open it up, load your ROM, and you know, Shazam, and it should be, in theory, it should be all done. Alright, so now we're going to change something. We want to change something here. We've gone over like sort of basics of you know, SonMapEd. Like I say, these at the top here, if you look at the top where my mouse is waving here, you've got frame 1. So these are all different frames. So this is also good for when you're editing animation, which I probably will cover a little bit. You know, so it sort of makes sense with SonMapEd. Or maybe I'll tie it in, I should say, with ASM. I'm not too sure, but yeah, like I say, you got frame 1, which is obviously, you know, frame 1's in standard animation and whatnot. So you got 58 frames. It's what it's saying. Or I think it's actually 57. I think it's 57. Well, no. Well, it is 58 in theory because, you know, it starts at 0. It's just a blank tile. I mean, you could have it as not a black tile if you want, but that's just how it is by default. Okay, so anyway, I'm just gonna upload everything. This is where we're going to actually start editing simple stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to load tile graphics. Or actually, I'm going to close it because this is where an issue where I said that SonMapEd doesn't always save it in compressed format, even though you try to. But I tend to find if you close it and open it again, it tends to do it. I'm not sure, 100% sure again. I'm sure there's like a techie or someone who would be able to explain why that is, or the creator would explain exactly what the issue is. I'm not 100% sure on that. But anyway, in this case, I'm going to art them, and we're going to edit. We're going to change the monitor. I've chosen the monitor. It could be anything really, but I want it to be fairly something simple, and I thought it'd be simple. So okay, we've got the monitor up. So like one monitor on. It's kind of handy because you can see like you've got the S monitor that was never used, and you've got the goggle monitor used, and the Eggman as well. There was an Eggman one, but they never did, you know, and whatnot. There's one in Sonic 2 as well, I believe. So, but it was used in Sonic 2 two-player mode, I think. I think so. Yeah. So anyway, we want to look for, again, unless you actually know the object number, but a good way to find out if you don't know what the object number is, without actually going and looking in, you know, ASM, just open up, you know, Green Hill Zone, go into your Sonic 1 Fresh Disassembly, Projects, go to Green Zone 1, again we load it up, yada yada yada, hover over, and as you can see there on the top left over here, Object 26. So we know it's Object 26, so we need 26. That's the mappings we need. So just gonna go ahead and do that. So go to mappings, Object 26. Like so, and there you have it. See, we don't need no pattern cues and nothing. Again, you got the broken one. Now, these little icons are separate pieces. They're not a part of this as one mappings. Let me explain what I mean. Remember, if we go and select our little, you know, using like the colon or the comma, I've now selected Eggman. As you see, the monitor in the background is like kind of like blacked out or greyed out, if you like. There, it's not a part of it, it's an attachment. It's basically been shifted into space, alright? It's shifted there. But we're not going to actually edit this. We're just going to edit the actual monitor itself. Let's say, for example, this one covers that one to, you know, little static animation. and I can press P to change the current palette line as well. Again, I don't need to change it because this uses Sonic's palette, so I don't really need to change anything or anything at all. I don't think this is the proper monitor. So even if you change the pieces, it's exactly the same. You know, this is the whole entire piece, the whole entire sprite. So obviously you've got, you know, star ring and everything. Right. So the first thing we want to do is